My beloved child, there are moments on your spiritual journey when you are not brought down by obvious enemies, but by subtle schemes ignited by those closest to you. When a soul begins drawing nearer to its ordained destiny, darkness does not strike from a distance. It crafts its snares within the inner circle. Those who once walked beside you, who once shared in your tears and triumphs, may suddenly shift their gaze, change their tone, and use that very familiarity as a weapon from behind. Betrayal cloaked in intimacy cuts the deepest, for it not only fractures relationships, but shakes the very foundations of faith, unless the soul is firmly anchored in the Eternal One. As the light within you begins to shine more brightly, there will always be hearts that cannot endure its radiance, not because that light does wrong, but because it exposes the darkness within others. Envy doesn't announce itself right away. It begins in silent glances, veiled questions, and evolves into whispered conversations in your absence. The trap is not laid with violence, but with twisted words and distorted motives, reinterpreted actions, calculated to justify betrayal. Those who once stood beside you as allies may begin exchanging strategies to see you fall the very one they once publicly supported. Fellowship turns into calculation. Companionship mutates into conspiracy. And the most painful part is, you often don't know it until the trap is nearly closed. But know this, my child, not a single snare escapes the perception of your Creator. Before the first whisper is uttered in the dark, I already know. Before betrayal is drafted in a message or voiced behind a closed door, I am already at work. I do not allow darkness to act unrestrained. I do not stand by as the innocent are devoured. I step into the tension not to remove every trial, but to ensure that none of it will be more than you can bear. Just as Joseph was thrown into a pit by his brothers, those who believed they had destroyed his future in reality, they were unknowingly pushing him toward his divine destiny. Betrayal is painful, yes, but in the breaking, a new path is revealed, and the one who was harmed becomes the vessel through which many are rescued. Child, the most dangerous thing is not the betrayal itself, but not discerning who is truly for you and who is secretly against you. There are those who smile gently, who speak encouragement, yet harbor an internal script aimed at your downfall. They sit in every meeting, attend every gathering, join every intimate celebration, all while seeing you as a tool to exploit or a threat to their ambitions. They don't wait for you to fail. They engineer the conditions for your fall, then pose as your rescuers. This is the most refined form of betrayal. It doesn't require daggers, just a rumor spoken at the right time, to the right person. In the face of this, many react by defending themselves, striking back, trying to prove their innocence. But in the eyes of the all-knowing one, there is no need for justification or retaliation. I see it all. I record every tear, every whispered prayer in the night. I know who is plotting, who is whispering behind doors, who is gathering evidence for slander. I am neither surprised nor powerless, but I do not act on the timeline of emotion. I act at the appointed time. For exposure is not only about saving the one betrayed, but refining them to enter the new season. There are seasons in your spiritual life that only begin after betrayal. Not everyone can go with you to the destination. Not all who start the journey are anointed to finish it with you. When a new chapter opens, relationships must be sifted, not because the other is inherently evil, but because they have opened their heart to deceit. What I do is not retaliation, it is reordering. Pruning is not to harm, but to protect. Separation is not for rejection, but for preservation of divine destiny. When those once close to you walk away, whether in tears, in silence, or with harsh words, do not cling. Trust that their departure is an answer to your own prayer. Perhaps you once asked for wisdom, for purification, for clarity, and this is how I give it. Clarity does not always arrive with a shining light. Sometimes it comes through wounds, betrayal, and the sudden unmasking of hidden lies. But in every such moment, remember, I am still here. I am still watching, and I am still holding your hand. People may set traps with their words, with their actions, with cunning psychological tactics, but they never escape the sight of the one who spoke the universe into being. What others devise in shadows, I have already seen before it ever formed in their minds. And no plan, no matter how beautifully disguised or presented in the name of unity, can stand if its root is rebellion. For what is not born of truth cannot withstand the day of testing. The secret alliances you don't see, the unseen handshakes, the covert meetings, all of them are noted by me. And when the time comes, I will not only expose the truth, I will reposition you in a way no force can reverse. Listen carefully. Every shaking in this season carries a divine fingerprint. This is not random chaos. It is an intentional exchange. Not every storm is from the enemy. Some tremors I myself initiate to separate truth from deception, to dismantle foundations built on manipulation, to force the false to surface. I am stirring the deep places unseen by the eye. I am shaking loose the ties that are no longer true, so you will no longer lean on what has already decayed. In that shaking, you may feel loss, isolation, or that everything is falling apart. But remember, I am not destroying, I am rebuilding on a stronger foundation. What I remove is not yours to keep. It no longer serves my purpose for your life. There are people who will leave not because you did wrong, but because they can no longer hide their true heart beneath the light I am now shining. Spiritual light exposes false spirits. Those who once celebrated your outward success but secretly hoped for inward collapse will no longer be able to wear their masks. Those who walked beside you only to watch you fall will reveal themselves, even in the smallest acts. And when that happens, you need not respond with anger, grief, or retaliation. Respond with silence, with steadfastness, and with trust in me, for it is then that I am moving. It is in that stillness, when you refuse to enter the cycle of betrayal, that you will see my protection made manifest. When I lead you out of that web of schemes, I am not just rescuing you, I am preparing you for higher ground. What I have prepared for you cannot be shared with double-minded hearts. What I am entrusting cannot be placed in the hands of those who are swayed by opinions, ruled by emotion, or bought by false loyalties. So yes, some doors will close. Some people will walk away. Some opportunities will dissolve. But not because you've lost anything, rather, because I am replacing them with better things. What comes from me will never require you to keep it out of fear. You don't need to beg anyone to stay. If they cannot walk forward in the light I am now shining, every loss in this season is not a defeat. But à refinement. Every severed relationship is not meaningless, but a filtering to preserve what is pure. I do not leave you in the emptiness. On the contrary, I am clearing space for the right people to enter. those not drawn to your outer glory, but moved by the truth within you, those who come not to take, but to walk with you. They will not need many words to understand. They will not need proof to believe. They will not need applause to recognize the anointing on your life. And when they come, you will know, not by emotion, but by confirmation from me. I will show you what is genuine, what is false, what is a true blessing, and what is a trap wrapped in a warm welcome. Just like David in the cave of Adullam, betrayed, hunted, misunderstood, yet it was in that very place I gathered around him the outcasts, the broken, those searching for a leader with a true heart. They did not come for a crown, for he had no crown then. They came for his heart, and from that dark place, a loyal army was born. You, too, are in such a season. You may be misunderstood, falsely accused, cast aside, but it is in that hidden place that I am laying the foundation for a new circle, a pure community, chosen not by status, but by the heart. They will intercede for you when no one else sees. They will speak truth when others remain silent. They will lift you up when you have no strength left. Betrayal, no matter who it comes from or how well disguised it may be, cannot override the divine purpose I've written over your life. Every tear you've shed is not a sign of defeat, but a testimony that your heart remains tender in a world hardened by pain. Every time you choose silence instead of retaliation, forgiveness instead of bitterness, you are storing up a kind of strength. The world cannot comprehend the strength that comes from trusting in me. You don't need to understand the entire plan. You only need to take the next step in my light. And as you walk, every step you take becomes a declaration to the spiritual realm. No trap can hold the chosen. No betrayal can silence a soul destined to declare the truth. I allow this season not to crush you, but to train your eyes to give you a new lens. There are things you can only see through the perspective of brokenness. There are kinds of discernment that only come after being betrayed by those you once trusted most. Don't shut your heart because of this. Let me enlarge your soul, not so you become suspicious of everyone, but so you can love with wisdom. Remember, Jesus never stopped loving, even though he knew the betrayer was seated at his table, but he did not entrust his heart to man, for he knew what was within them. Love is not blindness. Mercy is not victimhood. That's why I'm sharpening your discernment, so you can walk in love while remaining faithful to the calling I've placed within you. And when the storm passes, you'll look back and realize no one could stop you but yourself. No betrayal has the authority to shape your destiny unless you allow it to harden your heart. Don't let pain paralyze you. Don't let betrayal disorient you. Let it fuel your praise. Let it become the foundation for deeper worship. For it is when you worship in brokenness that the kingdom of heaven begins to move. It is when you kneel in disappointment that I release fresh revelation. What feels like an ending is often a beginning. Those who turn their backs make room for those I'm sending. And what was taken from you will be replaced with something far more glorious. You may never receive an apology. The betrayers may never admit what they did, but don't let that become your burden. They do not hold the key to your future. I do, and I will restore your honor in a way no one can resist. My child, I will crown you anew, not to prove anything to others, but to establish you before me and the hosts of heaven. When I lift you up, no accusation can hold you down. When I act, no force can intervene. The weapons formed against you will not prosper, not because you are strong, but because I am fighting for you. So stand firm. Do not let your heart grow hard, but neither let it be naive. Let me teach you how to love without being controlled. Let me show you how to forgive without erasing sacred boundaries. Learn to be still when misunderstood, and to sing when forsaken. For I am watching, I am recording every moment you choose holiness over reaction. And every one of those moments is storing up a great reward not only in the life to come, but even in this life. I will cause others to recognize that you belong to me not because you try to prove it, but because I myself will testify on your behalf. Keep walking. Do not back down. Let the trap become the catalyst for your greatest rise. Not everything you lose is a loss. Some things are removed to protect your soul from toxins you never even recognized. When a relationship suddenly fractures, when someone turns away without reason, when an opportunity vanishes in an instant, you may see it as failure, as something that shouldn't have happened. But from the lens of eternity, I saw the ending if those things had continued. I do not break things simply because you made mistakes. I remove what hinders you, because I am guarding something precious in you that even you don't yet know how to protect. A soul anointed with wisdom and heaven's oil cannot be yoked to those who only come to drain you rather than strengthen you. There are some who will love your presence as long as they can control it. But the moment you begin to walk in the independence of the Spirit, when your light starts to expose the chaos in theirs, that's when the truth surfaces, and jealousy rises from the deepest parts of their hearts. My child, the exclusion you're experiencing is not a sign of my rejectionite, is proof that I am refining your sphere of influence. There are people whose presence is like a slow dripping poison to your spirit word by word, gesture by gesture, all veiled in charm. They don't wound you with knives, but with calculated silence, with hollow compliments, with intimacy tainted by hidden agenda. And if I didn't intervene to remove them from your journey, one day they would be the very ones to push you into a pit just when you thought they were lifting you up. So when I take someone out of your life, don't rush to pull them back out of politeness. Let me lead you to a land of truth, where every relationship is built on purity, not profit, not nostalgia. I know you are faithful. I know you love deeply. I know you don't easily give up on people. But, dear one, loyalty is not meant to preserve what I have already closed. Some things were good for a season, but they are no longer fitting in the new one. A branch that once bore fruit, if left to draw sap past its season, will weaken the entire root. Likewise, someone who once encouraged you, once supported you, if their heart is no longer aligned with integrity, their presence can distort your direction, not because they are evil, but because their spirit is no longer in harmony with the calling I've placed upon you. And I will not allow spiritual dissonance to linger, for I do not build my kingdom upon confusion. When I raise you in holiness, I also require the atmosphere around you to be purified. No one enters the promised land still clinging to the mindset of Egypt, nor can they carry with them those who only wish to drag them back into spiritual bondage. Perhaps you once prayed, Lord, please show me who is truly for me. And then, when the revelations came, text messages, whispered conversations, secrets behind your back, you felt shocked, hurt, and lost. But beloved, that was your prayer being answered. Not gently, but clearly, because I love you. I will not let you live in dangerous naivety. I will not allow you to keep placing your trust in unclean hands, dishonest mouths, or crooked hearts. If I expose someone, it is not so you can retaliate, but so that you can see. This is not someone anointed to walk with you into the next season. You don't have to hate them only. Learn to release them. Many souls are drained simply because they keep holding on to what I have already removed. They cling in my name. They wrestle with emotion. They justify why they refuse to let go. But such stubbornness only weighs down their journey. Look closely. Did the people you tried to keep bring peace or confusion after speaking with them? Did your heart feel lifted or burdened? Did you feel closer to me in their presence or pulled away? I do not condemn you for having loved, trusted, or opened your heart. But now, I am setting a new standard for those allowed into your inner circle. That standard is no longer beautiful memories, but wholly present. No longer comfort, but discernment. No longer empty promises, but lasting fruit. Listen to my voice when I say, it is enough. Stop striving when I've closed the door. Stop searching when I have removed them. I am doing something new. I am rebuilding the land within your heart so that I can plant true, healthy, spirit-led relationships. The ones I will bring won't be those who merely clap when you succeed, but those who pray when you fall. They won't compete with your anointing, but protect it as sacred. They won't push you down when you are weary, but lift you up in humility. And you will know they were chosen not by your efforts, but by my hand. Trust me in this process. Let me purify. Let me cut away. Because what remains after the fire will be what can withstand it. Know this. Discernment is not a gift handed out randomly to all. It is the reward for souls who have endured painful refinement. No one gains clear vision without walking through seasons of fog. And no wisdom comes without paying the price of betrayal, deception, and heartbreak down to the core. It is the unseen wounds, the silent nights of weeping that no one witnessed, that have become the lenses through which you now see the true nature of others. Not so you would grow bitter, but so you would learn to love without being fooled, to embrace wisely, and to reject gently, not by feeling, but by confirmation from the Spirit. I did not give you discernment to make you suspicious, but to help you walk wisely in a deceitful world. I did not open your spiritual eyes to close your heart, but so you would know where to place it with whom and when. My beloved child, when truth begins to surface, it rarely comes with loud declarations. It often begins with the smallest signs: an averted glance, a swallowed sentence, a broken promise with no clear reason, a chill in the air that defies explanation. And if your soul has been long trained in closeness with me, you'll begin to recognize these signs not as coincidences, but as early warnings, subtle signals from heaven of an impending separation. Still, I know you often feel confused. You don't want to believe that someone you trusted is changing. You try to defend them, as a natural reflex born out of love and loyalty. But, my child, not all compassion is rooted in wisdom. There are moments when you must stop justifying behavior that hurts you. There are times when you must turn your gaze to my heart, to discern when a relationship has reached its end. In my plan, I never remove someone from your life without purpose, even if you don't understand it now. The day will come when you will look back and thank me for closing that door just in time. I see what lies behind their smiles. I hear what is said in rooms where you are not present. I discern the disguised criticism behind so-called encouragement, the promises made not from love, but as a means to stay close for their own benefit. And because I see what you cannot, I must act before it's too late. My intervention isn't always gentle. Sometimes it feels like heartbreak, disappointment, or abandonment. But in that pain, I am shielding you from a deeper wound, a collapse that would be far worse if you remain tied to those who are not true. There are things I must remove silently, without explanation, not because I lack transparency, but because if I told you everything, you wouldn't be able to bear it. Some truths, if fully revealed now, would crush your spirit before it has been strengthened. That's why I unveil slowly, a little light each day. En une expected conversation. A chance, confession. Each one brings you closer to clarity. And when you've seen enough, when you're finally ready to release, I will bring the replacement. My child, your faithfulness has not been wasted. What you sowed in sincerity, you will reap in joy. Every whispered prayer you uttered on their behalf I have heard. And though they may no longer walk beside you, I will use what they did to forge you into readiness for a new season. Like the potter shaping clay, I am using the pressure of betrayal, disappointment, and separation to mold your soul into the form I desire. I waste nothing. Even their silence becomes a tool in my hands. Even their ingratitude becomes pavement for your promotion. And one day, when you walk through the door, I have prepared when the light shines upon your face, and the crown of spiritual authority rests upon your head, you will no longer feel bitter. You will not need revenge. You will not need to speak their names to prove anything, for glory will speak for you. What I do in you will silence every tongue. And then you will understand why I allowed these things and how I was protecting you in storms no one else could see. My precious one, there are seasons when everything seems to slow down. Promises appear delayed. Open doors begin to close. Those who once cheered you on grow quiet or indifferent. You ask, have I done something wrong? Has God changed his mind? But the truth is, when I am preparing something great, waiting is not delay, it is strategy. You are not abandoned, you are being hidden, like a seed buried in the earth, unseen, unheard, uncelebrated, yet that is where life begins. In the darkness, and just the same, while no one speaks your name, I am speaking it before the councils of heaven. While you feel forgotten, I am exposing the enemy's schemes and preparing a table before you in the presence of those who oppose you. Do you know, the enemy does not only fear the power I've placed within you, he fears the timing I've chosen to unveil you. He knows that when someone has been rightly prepared, when a soul is no longer swayed by praise or wounded by criticism, that person becomes dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. That is why he tries to strike before I reveal you. He tries to break you in the hidden phase because he knows that once you emerge in my timing, he cannot stop the river of blessing that will flow through you. So the intensity of the attacks you're facing now is not proof of failure. It is confirmation that you are near your appointed time. And I, who began a good work in you, will not allow any scheme to steal its completion. Exposure always comes before elevation. I do not crown someone without first revealing every hidden threat around them. The most dangerous enemy is not outside the gate. It's the one who walks within your camp. Just as Joseph could not rise to his appointed place without seeing who was willing to sell their own brother, just as David could not rule securely without discerning Saul and Ahithophel, just as Esther could not save her people without first having her eyes open to Haman's plot, so it is with you. What you are seeing now, the bitter truths, the double hearts, The invented stories. They are not sent to destroy you. They are sent to wake you up, so that when I place you in a higher position, no one will be able to deceive you with a holy facade. So that when I give you the power to decide, you will use it not to please people, but to follow my voice. My beloved child, you are entering a season where masks will begin to fall not because you seek it, but because I am moving. Those who once claimed to be on your side will unintentionally reveal their true motives through small reactions. Those who pretended to support you will suddenly turn away, and the hidden schemes devised in darkness will be brought into the light, as if my own hand pulled back the curtain. Do not be surprised. Do not be heartbroken. Do not react in the flesh. I am cleansing. I am dismantling. I am protecting the spiritual territory I have promised to you. Those who are no longer meant to walk with you will be removed not because they are entirely evil, but because their hearts are no longer aligned before me. If you cling to them out of memory or emotion, you unknowingly hand-control to hands that are no longer clean. Understand this: elevation never comes by chance. It comes when you are ready, when the atmosphere around you has been cleared, and when your heart is steady enough not to be swayed by noise. For the kingdom I am bringing you into is not a stage for recognition, but a battlefield where you must execute authority, and you cannot walk in authority while still entangled in toxic ties. You cannot stand in righteousness if you still rely on the approval of deceitful hearts. That's why I am requiring you to release people, memories, expectations, and even the need to be understood. For I will lead you to a place where your silence will speak louder than any defense. I will cause others to see your true value without you needing to prove it. And when that time comes, even those who once dismissed you will testify to the anointing upon your life, not to shame them, but to glorify my name, not for revenge, but as a witness to faithfulness. And in that moment, you will understand the silent tears, the lonely seasons, the nights without comfort. None of it was in vain. It was the foundation upon which I've positioned you in a place that no one can shake. And remember, reversal doesn't always come with thunder and dazzling miracles. Sometimes it happens quietly, gradually, like underground waters shifting course beneath the surface. No one sees it. But when the appointed time comes, everything changes. Silence turns into a trumpet call. Humiliation becomes stability. Rejection becomes the very platform for your rising. And those who once laughed behind closed doors will be the ones to witness my glory upon your life, not to be ashamed, but to acknowledge this is the work of heaven. This is the result of a heart that refused to be poisoned by bitterness. This is the reward for faithfulness kept in the shadow unnoticed, unpraised, but seen by me. You don't know that in every moment you chose not to react. I was recording when you were slandered and remained silent, when you were misunderstood and still chose love, when you were pushed aside but refused to retaliate. That was not weakness. That was power wrapped in humility. That was authority being stored up with every tear and every quiet prayer. And when the time is right, I will open doors no one can close. No network can block it. No rumor can bury it. No plan can destroy it. Because what I build on steadfast ground, hell itself cannot move. And I only give this to those who are no longer dependent on being seen, who know how to be still when I say stop, and who walk even when no one is cheering. My child, when I bring reversal, the first thing I reverse is not your position but the atmosphere around you. What once resisted you will begin to support you. Environments that were once cold and closed will start to warm because of my presence in you. People who once turned a blind eye to truth will begin to sense it because you explained. But because I revealed, not because you proved yourself, but because I revealed myself through you. And then, you will step into a space where your very faithfulness becomes a weapon not to fight people, but to establish kingdom rule, not to crush others, but to lift up souls who have been crushed by betrayal too many times. You will not need to shout to be acknowledged. Even your quietest moments will echo in the spirit realm. For I will mark your presence with such holiness that darkness will no longer stand still. The very things the enemy used to trap you, I will use as a platform. The words meant to bring you down, I will transform into lessons that help others rise. And the seasons you thought were delays were actually the waiting rooms of elevation. You were never disqualified. You were hidden for your protection. And now, I am pulling back the veil. I am unveiling what I have prepared in secret. No one saw you when I shaped you in the fire. No one heard what I whispered to you in the dark. But now they will see the result. They will look at you and realize there's something in you that did not come from man. A light that cannot be imitated. A wisdom that cannot be learned from books. Because I myself put it there. You will no longer need external validation. I will show you who you are not through titles or applause, but through unshakable steadiness. I will make others wonder how you're still standing. And the answer will not come from your mouth, but from my presence in your life. Wherever you go, there will be movement. When you speak, there will be awakening. When you touch, there will be healing. Not because you are better than others, but because you allowed me to refine you. You didn't flee the process. You didn't reject the wilderness. And because of that, I give you what many pray for but few are willing to endure for. Steadfastness in authority. My child. Now I am reversing the board. Those who once sat in the seat of control will come to realize they never truly held power. The words that were once crafted to harm you will return to the mouths that uttered them. Not because I am cruel, but because the law of justice cannot be ignored. I will expose every false seed through the fruit it bears. And you will not need to lift a hand. Stand still. Guard your heart. Keep praying. Keep walking in purity. Keep walking in love. For your part is obedience. Mine is to bring everything to pass in its appointed time. And when that time comes, you will not only be restored, but positioned in a glory greater than ever before. When a soul endures without losing its purity, and walks through fire without shutting its heart, that is where a new kingdom begins to take form. Not a kingdom built by human power or influence, but one birthed through silent endurance, absolute surrender, and unconditional love. This is the kind of kingdom no one can seize, and no force can reach, for it is not built on the outside, but forged deep within, where man meets God in the midst of brokenness. It is in that place that you are redefined not by title, not by praise, but by a quiet affirmation, you are the one I have chosen, anointed by my very hand, and no one can erase your name from heaven's design. I know there were moments when you felt nothing. Every prophecy seemed distant. Every promise appeared asleep. You stood in darkness, hearing no voice, receiving no affirmation, no encouragement from those closest to you. And yet, in that very place, something was being built in your soul, something invisible to human eyes but weighty in the unseen realm. There, I began to carve a new identity into your spirit, no longer the rejected one, no longer the misunderstood, no longer one begging for a place, but a covenant child, an instrument of change, a sign to a generation that one can emerge from pain without losing tenderness, and walk through betrayal without becoming hardened. My dear one, in the very place where you were mocked, I will raise a platform for your calling to resound. The very ground where your name was trampled will become the launchpad of a voice of life. Those who turned away will have to listen not to be shamed, but to witness the greatness of forgiveness, of unconditional love, of unwavering faithfulness. I will do it in a way that is gentle, yet profound, not through grand displays, but through steady resolve. You will not need carnal weapons. Your steadfastness will be your fortress. Your integrity will be your armor. And I will be the voice that pleads your case before every tongue that once condemned you. You do not yet see that I have saved the best for the moment you thought all hope was lost. Only when every relationship broke down did I begin to bring in the right people. Only when every door of man closed did the door I had opened, before the foundation of the world begin to unlock. What you have walked through was never meant to destroy you, but to cleanse the environment into which I am placing you. I do not set a lamp in a room filled with dust and smoke. I cleanse it, prepare it, and then place you there to shine. When the light in you is no longer mixed, only then can it shine with purity. And when that happens, those who doubted will face two choices, either to repent or to retreat. But you stay still. Do not prove anything. Do not explain. Do not waver. You may have once believed that the greatest event in your life would be a career breakthrough, a massive gathering, or a striking prophecy. But no, my beloved, the greatest event was the moment you chose not to become a product of your wounds, but a bearer of healing. When you chose to keep praying for those who hurt you. When you chose to keep loving, even with a bleeding heart. When you chose to stay faithful to me instead of loyal to your pain. It was in that moment that a sacred throne was placed within your soul unseen, unbestowed by men, but carved by my very hand. And that throne no one can steal, because it does not come from the world. My beloved child, I am bringing you into your unveiling, but not so you may be glorified for yourself, rather that I may be glorified through you. You need not step out in pride, but in reverence. Do not fear the gaze of others. Do not be intimidated by judgment. You have endured tests where many would have quit. You have survived blows from places no one expected. You have kept the light when all around you dimmed. And for that, I bestow upon you an authority that no human hand can grant. It comes only from the deep place between me and you, where no one else may enter. After the seasons of tearing, after the nights where sighs were the only response to your prayers, after the moments you remained silent when you could have fought back, comes the time I begin to write a new chapter. But, my child, this chapter does not begin with trumpets or applause. It begins with a strange stillness, a peace so deep that you no longer feel the need to chase anything, no need to prove, no need to argue, no need to question your worth. You have been established not by human consensus, but by divine confirmation in the unseen realm. You have come through the war without losing your heart, and that alone has opened a path that no one can shut. Now, you no longer walk with the timid steps of the wounded, but with the steady pace of one bearing a command from heaven No title needed. No self-assertion required. Yet with every step you take, I shake the depths of the spiritual realm. My beloved child, your presence now carries a new atmosphere. Dry places begin to soften. Restricted places begin to stir. Not because you have become stronger, but because you have allowed me to take lordship over your weakness. And now, I am using the very places once broken within you as pathways through which my power flows. Your words are no longer mere human thoughts, but echoes of a soul in rhythm with the Holy Spirit. What you speak will not fall to the ground, void, for they are drawn from the place where I have set my own heart within yours. You once asked me, when will I step into what you promised? And now, the answer no longer comes through words, but through circumstances, through unexpected doors opening, through the people I am sending, through moments that seem random, but are fully orchestrated by my hand. You will begin to find ease in the small things. What once required pleading will come freely. Those who once turned away will now seek you out, not so that you may be exalted, but that I may be glorified. For what is about to unfold is not the result of strategy or skill, but the fruit of surrender. You have dared to die to yourself, and now you live in a resurrection no human effort could manufacture. You will begin to sense my guidance clearly. Like water flowing gently between the stones, soft, yet unstoppable. I will speak to you through dreams no longer muddled. I will awaken within you strategies you never learned from any teacher. I will give you words for each person you encounter, not to impress, but to heal. For this is the season I am sending you, not to search for position, but to exercise authority. Every place you set foot will no longer be just a stop along the way, but a territory marked for transformation. The doors opening before you are not merely opportunities, they are domains, and each domain is tied to souls waiting to hear a word from heaven through your voice. Remember, what you carry is not an ordinary message. You are carrying within you a pulse of heaven's movement. Every time you pray, it is not a religious act, it is a divine operation. Every time you listen, it is not just to respond, but to obey my command. I am not sending you alone. The angels have gone ahead of you, clearing paths, silencing adversaries, laying foundations for what you are about to step into. I do not elevate you only to leave you exposed. You need not fear resistance. You only need to obey. For my protection is not far off, it dwells within every breath you take. In every decision you make in uprightness, that very integrity will be your compass. It will keep you from drifting in glory. It will keep you from pride and success. And it will keep you from bitterness when misunderstood. My child, you are no longer of the old season. You no longer wear the markings of insecurity. You no longer walk with hesitation born of doubt. You have matured, not in outward form, but in the soul, not by credentials, but by scars, not through human promises, but through the word I have etched upon your heart, not in ink, but in fire, and it is that fire I now use to illuminate the darkness. You no longer need to strive for opportunity, for opportunity itself is being rerouted to find you. Every encounter in this season is divinely appointed. I wrote the names of those you will meet in the diary of destiny long before you were born. Those who once passed you by will now turn toward you, not because your appearance has changed, but because the spiritual climate around you has. I have marked you with a seal. No human eye can see, but the spiritual realm knows it well. And because of that mark, you will draw souls who hunger for what is true, pure, and from above. They will be drawn not by eloquence, but by the depth in your gaze, by the flame, gentle yet unrelenting, that burns in all you do. In the past, you walked cautiously, fearing being misunderstood, fearing criticism, fearing that your heart might once again be shattered by betrayal. But now, that caution has been replaced by steadiness. Not because pain no longer affects you, but because you've learned not to turn pain into walls. You've discovered how to keep your heart soft without losing discernment. You understand now that real love doesn't need to shout, and real strength doesn't need to posture. And because of this, I can place in your hands things deeper, greater, even weightier, yet they will not break you, because your roots no longer run deep in human approval. But in my heart, you will see this clearly. Those who come near you in this season will largely be ones whose hearts I have already prepared. They will not come to drain you, but to resonate with the mission you carry. They will not need many words to understand you, because the Spirit in them will confirm the fire burning in you. A glance, a word, a silence enough to show them where your soul abides. You will not need to teach them how to love. They were taught in the secret place before they came to you. They are not coming to demand, but to contribute, not to judge, but to stand guard, not to compete, but to hold their place in unity. These are ones I refined in fire as I refined you, so your light will not threaten them, but stir them to shine brighter. Yet you must understand this. With elevation comes a new level of sensitivity. Testing now will not come through obvious attacks, but through subtle things. A harmless compliment may awaken pride. A partnership offer may shift your course, if not bathed in prayer. A fleeting emotion could prompt you to speak too soon what was meant to remain hidden. So, you must guard yourself in inner stillness, where only you and I share breath. You cannot rely on instinct alone. You must live by confirmation. And that confirmation won't always come through the agreement of others, but through the peace that rests in your spirit where I dwell. Learn to hear my voice in the storm, in the applause, in the flattery, for sometimes sweet words are the lullabies that put awakening souls to sleep. You will come to know this. True greatness is not measured by how many know your name, but by how many souls are transformed through what I do in you. I do not measure by shares, stages, or spotlight, but by obedience. Step by step, you may speak a simple sentence in a quiet gathering, and it will shake generations. You may send a message that seems plain, and it will reroute the life of someone teetering on the edge. You don't need to see the results immediately. Just know this: everything you do under my leading has eternal impact even when your eyes cannot yet behold it in this life. My beloved child, this is the time when you don't need to move quickly, but to move rightly, not to do more, but to do what matters, not to do everything, but to do what I desire, because effectiveness in the kingdom does not come from productivity, but from obedience. And obedience requires stillness. It requires listening. It requires the courage to say no to what is good in order to wait for what is right. There will be times you feel alone in the crowd. But remember, even when no one understands, I understand. And as long as you walk in the light I provide, everything else will be added in its time. That time has komano with noise, but with clarity. No announcements are needed, no staging, no human affirmation. The fruit now blooming around you will be the loudest testimony. The silent prayers once sown in loneliness, the unseen steps taken faithfully across dry ground are now beginning to bear fruit, not one by one, but in entire waves of harvest. Hearts once locked in pain are opening. Souls once hardened like stone are softening under my presence in you. And you will stand there, no shouting, no striving, just being present. And I will move. You're beginning to see changement first in others. But within yourself, things that once confused, you now only make you sigh and keep walking. Words that once stirred anger now move you to intercede. Actions that once made you retreat now stir compassion in your heart. This is the clearest sign of growth, not growth as the world sees it, but spiritual maturity. You no longer react the way you once did. You no longer move by instinct. You no longer need anything external to affirm your worth. You know who you are not through knowledge, but through experience, not from books, but through testing, not through theory, but through tears and perseverance. Everywhere you go, the spiritual atmosphere begins to shift, not because you're trying to do something, but because my presence has been etched so deeply into you that it naturally flows out. You no longer need to appear anointed on the outside. Your stillness carries power. When you walk into a room, darkness begins to shift. When you pray for someone, they don't just feel comfort, they experience deliverance. When you speak, it carries not only wisdom, but divine confirmation, not because you are better than others, but because you stayed with me when others walked away. You didn't let go when your emotions told you to quit. And because of that, I can entrust you with an influence that no one can give and no one can take. Now, my child, this is the season I am bringing you into deeper operation within my kingdom. The places that once caused you pain will become harvest fields. The very places where your name was once spoken with scorn, I will send you back there, not to retaliate, but to bring healing. You will not go in with anger, but with mercy, not to reclaim, but to give, not to remind people of what they did, but to reveal what I have done in you. For I have not only restored you, I am using you to restore others. And this is true glory not when you are exalted, but when you become the vessel through which my name is lifted high. You will begin to see lives transformed without striving. A gentle touch, a simple prière, a compassionate glance. These will become contact points between heaven and earth, not because you know how to say the right words, but because you carry real presence. And that presence doesn't come from programs, from music, or from lights. It comes from lonely nights, from mornings where you chose worship over resentment, from moments where you chose forgiveness over retaliation. What you once sowed in secret is now beginning to multiply. The season of sowing has passed. This is the season of reaping. My child, do not rush. Even harvest requires careful stewardship, just as pain requires endurance. Fruitfulness requires wisdom. Some people will come running for what you carry, but not all are meant to stay. Many doors will begin to open, but not every door is anointed. So walk slowly but surely. Do not let harvest become your next trap. Let everything pass through the fire of discernment before you receive, before you align, before you say yes. I didn't deliver you from one trap just to watch you walk into another. I am teaching you how to guard the harvest, not just greet it. Every time a region is opened for life, darkness begins to tremble, not because it's surprised, but because it recognizes its dominion is being challenged. As you enter your harvest, it's not just souls being touched, it's systems shaking, strongholds trembling. And it is in the very moment when others think you've finally reached peace that a new kind of battle begins, not as overt as before, but subtler, sharper, even cloaked in counterfeit light. For the enemy knows that pain no longer sways you, so now he will attempt to lure you with glory. He doesn't seek to strike you down with a blow, but to distract you with false harmony, unordained connections, and doors that didn't come from heaven. Beloved, do not fear when this next battle arises, for it is proof that you're on the right path. If you walk and the spiritual realm stays silent, reevaluate. Are you stirring anything at all? But if the pressure increases, if accusations come without cause, if people shift unexpectedly, if your peace is shaken without reason, know this: you are entering deeper territory that belongs to me. Where darkness once ruled, you don't need to fight as before. Because in this phase, my strategy is not fight, it is stand firm. Not because you're weak, but because I have deployed my army, and I will fight on your behalf. There are battles you are not meant to engage in, because your hands are instruments of healing, not weapons for every fight. I am the one who wields the sword. I go into the darkness, search every secret place, and dismantle the enemy's plans before they are born. What you feel stirring unease. Warning: the urge to pray at strange hours is heaven's trumpet sounding. You don't need to know every detail, only be sensitive. When I wake you in the night, it's not because I need you to understand, but because I need you to partner with me. When you see a face in a dream, don't dismiss it. When the atmosphere shifts, take authority. I am teaching you to work with angels not through rituals, but through a united spirit. The presence you carry is causing fractures in the invisible walls the enemy once built to keep other souls in blindness. Wherever you step, truth begins to break forth. But real light will always provoke resistance from darkness. You do not need to strive to prove anything. The purity of your heart is a sword. The forgiveness you choose daily is a shield. Your quiet faithfulness is your armor, and your praise offered when you feel nothing is a spear that pierces through the heavens. Do not mistake the reaction of darkness for failure. On the contrary, recognize that such resistance is confirmation that you are reclaiming spiritual territory the enemy once held. You will begin to see people who once respected you turn away. Relationships you thought were deep may suddenly break. Places that once welcomed you may grow silent. But remember this, my child, not everyone who stood with you in the season of sowing is pure enough to walk with you into the season of harvest. Some cannot withstand the light you carry, not because you have done wrong, but because your presence reminds them of what they have abandoned. Simplicity, truth, obedience. And because your light exposes the darkness in their own hearts, they choose to retreat. Do not blame them. Do not try to pull them back. Let me purify once again. For the true battle is not for you to protect relationships, but to preserve vision. You once believed your fiercest battles would come from obvious opposition, but now you are beginning to understand. The most intense confrontations come through familiar faces, seemingly sincere words, and hands that once prayed with you. The enemy no longer attacks with blatant swords, but with compromises dressed in moral language. He knows you can no longer be easily swayed by simple temptations, so he seeks to infiltrate your sacred space through connections you assumed were safe, through collaborations. Subtle counsel, and gentle voices. But your spirit is beginning to sense that something is off, not in content, but in atmosphere. And this is where I am training you not just to discern between right and wrong, but between truth and what only appears to be true. Know this: spiritual discernment in this season no longer relies on past experience, but on deep intimacy with my voice. For there are things that appear as light but are fires not lit by me. There are those who quote my word, but do not carry my spirit. There are organizations that speak of me, yet move by human agenda. And if you are not spiritually alert, you will find yourself entangled in a web where each thread is woven by those once called brothers. Do not fear this. Do not close your heart. I am not teaching you to live in suspicion, but in watchfulness. And watchfulness does not mean fear. It is the posture of a warrior equipped, fully aware that the enemy is cunning, but that your God is infinitely wiser. You are entering a strategic zone where decisions can no longer be made by consensus or emotion. For every alliance you make now will affect the spiritual territory I have entrusted to you. Some doors may look like opportunities but are traps. Some invitations may sound angelic but conceal a spirit of control. Some conversations may seem harmless but carry seeds of doubt, pride, or manipulation. And because you carry genuine fire, the enemy's plan is no longer to extinguish it, but to dilute it. He doesn't need to put it out just to mix it. But you, O set-apart one, I have taught you that my fire is not meant to be diluted for comfort. It must remain holy even if it offends, even if it causes others to walk away, even if it isolates you once again. My beloved, let me teach you to read between the lines, to hear between the words, to discern beyond what is seen, for I am leading you into greater realms of influence where your very presence shifts the atmosphere. But that also means you become a primary target, not because you are weak, but because you are strong, not because you failed, but because you're overcoming. And darkness never concedes without a final struggle. But I am here, not only beside you, but ahead of you, every place your feet are about to tread. I have already sent angels to survey every person you are about to meet. I have already weighed their hearts, and every relationship that is not from EI will expose before it can take root. The training in this season will not resemble the past. Before, you learned how to endure. Now, you will learn how to govern. Before, you learned how to survive. Now, you will learn how to influence. Before, you prayed to be understood. Now, you are called to discern. Every word you speak, every action you take, every response you choose becomes a spiritual weapon. The enemy does not fear your mere presence, he fears your absolute obedience to me, because that obedience is the foundation of all true authority. And for that reason, I am sharpening you like an arrow, not to be displayed, but to be released, not to remain in the quiver, but to tear through ancient strongholds where souls have long been imprisoned. Remember this: gentleness does not mean compromise. Love does not mean leniency. And true unity is always built on the foundation of truth, not on the agreements made to keep people pleased. If something in your spirit feels misaligned, bring it to me. Do not rush to speak. Do not rush to act. But also do not ignore it. Learn to observe, to intercede, and to wait for my confirmation. For in this season, I do not want your reactions, I want your strategies. Not every place is a battlefield, but there is no place where you can afford to be unguarded. My beloved child, now is the time when I bring everything into the light. No more cleverly concealed masks. No more double-tongued speech. No more smiles that hide daggers. I have allowed the darkness to play its Hanto scheme, deceive, manipulate, and conspire so that now, in this very moment, I overturn the board. What was built on lies will begin to collapse at its foundation. Alliances that were not formed in my name will unravel. Hypocritical words once celebrated will become evidence against those who spoke them. Not because you demanded justice, but because I am the righteous one. Not because you need vindication, but because I will not allow injustice to reign in places I have destined for light. I will open your eyes to see clearly what you once only suspected. The secret meetings, the whispers behind your back, the false performances that fooled your emotions but never escaped. My sight, you do not need to search. I will compel what's hidden to come into the open, not through scandal, but through a light no one can extinguish. Truth will rise not through argument, but through the undeniable fractures of dishonest connections. The enemy thought it had deceived you, but it forgot you do not walk alone. You are mine, led by my voice, covered in my presence, marked by my power. And because of that, every lie spoken against you will become confirmation of what I'm doing in you. Child, this is no longer a battle to defend your reputation. It is a battle to reveal who is truly sovereign. I don't need many words. I only need a moment, and that moment is drawing near. Every plan of the enemy will collide with the boundary of my permission. With every step it takes, it moves closer to my judgment, not because I am angry, but because I will not allow deception to defile my divine plans. The enemy believed that if it lied long enough, your position would be lost. But even as people whispered about you, I was preparing a throne not so you could rule over people, but so you could govern the spiritual atmosphere I am sending you into. Not to take power, but to bring deliverance. Not to be served, but to bring honor to my name in places once polluted by lies. Do not let your heart become tainted by what is about to be revealed. You will see familiar faces, unable to meet your gaze. You will hear once close voices now shaky and unsure. You will receive late apologies, unnecessary justifications, but I have not placed you there to drown in emotion. I have positioned you as a watchman to defend yourself, but to guard the flow of truth from being obstructed. Beloved, you are not permitted to fall back into emotional cycles, for in doing so, you would forfeit the spiritual sharpness I have so carefully trained in you. Do not waste time on what I've already marked complete. Do not answer the call of a former season. Do not turn back to explain yourself to those who refused to listen when you were bleeding. Look up. Walk forward. For this is the hour in which I execute final separation. What is not of me cannot exist in the new territory. You will see some leave in confusion. Others will slip away without goodbye. A few will attempt to stay out of regret, but they will carry no more authority within your life. That is necessary. You cannot carry a fresh anointing while letting remnants of the old mingle in your heart. And after this purification, you will enter a sacred space you have never known before, a place free from debates, free from suspicious glances, free from the grip of doubt. There will remain only light, peace, and the courage refined by fire. I am granting you true freedom, not the kind that comes from proving yourself, but from no longer needing to be understood. Freedom is not the absence of pain, but the resolve to no longer let pain dictate your response. True freedom is walking with light steps while the spirit realm trembles at your footprint. And that lightness is what confuses the enemy, for it is used to outrage, reaction, retaliation. But when you remain still in the light, it no longer knows what weapon to use, because there is no weapon effective against a soul that has died to self and lives in eternal life. My child, when the first light of morning breaks through the haze of painful days, know this: a new season has begun it like a fragile ray of hope. But like the midday sun, nothing can obscure it. Everything you endured is no longer a nameless scarlet, is the mark of a survivor in my name. You are no longer the one waiting for a miracle. You are the one carrying miracles into the world. The nights you cried in your secret place, the times you knelt in numb silence, wondering why righteousness seemed so quiet, those very moments awakened a power in you that no one can deny. Now, you no longer walk as one groping through darkness. You carry fire in your heart, a sword in your hand, and favor on your forehead. You don't need anyone to affirm this. I have spoken it and sealed it. I have burned away timidity, shattered the fear of rejection, and buried every trace of abandonment in the depths of forgiveness. You have not only been healed, you have been elevated, not because you were worthy, but because you obeyed when nothing was guaranteed, not because you were unshaken, but because you refused to let the shaking define your faith. And that is what shakes the heavens. Beloved, you will begin to see doors open not because you forced your way in, but because they have been waiting for you to arrive at the appointed time. The people you were once kept from will now seek you out. The places you were once excluded from will now carry your name with honor, not to exalt you, but so that I may be glorified through your life. You will not have to push. I am the one who opens. You will not have to fight for position. I am the one who places. You will not have to strive. I am the one who causes others to return what rightfully belongs to you. My child, remember this: elevation without discernment is just another trap in a new disguise. That is why I will not only give you position, I will give you precision. I will sharpen your ears to hear what others overlook. I will soften your heart toward the sincere and strengthen it against the hypocrites. I will place within you an understanding that surpasses books, surpasses experience, and surpasses what eyes can see. For this new position is not for one who seeks to be liked. It is for one who dares to love truth, even when that truth leads to solitude. I will send you not as one wounded, but as a messenger of truth. With clear eyes and clean hands, you will reach the hearts of the rejected. You will open your mouth and awaken silent souls, not because of eloquence, but because there is fire in your words, not because you know what to say, but because I will speak through you. What once made you weep will now become a song of deliverance for the thirsty. The fragments that once pierced you will become tools to mend broken souls. You do not carry wounds, you carry evidence. Evidence that I am the healer, the life changer, the restorer of all. And now, I am leading you into the battlefield, not as a survivor, but as one who carries victory. What you have endured was not merely testing, it was training. The betrayals, the suspicious glances, the mocking laughter, all of it has forged you into someone even the enemy must now respect. You do not enter this season empty-handed. You carry the spear of understanding, the shield of integrity, and the helmet of discernment, not to fight flesh and blood, but to tear down invisible systems that keep souls bound. You have been called to break false foundations, dismantle webs of lies, and restore my righteousness to places long held captive. I did not call you because you were unscarred, but because of your scars. For the place where you were wounded, the deepest, is the place where my light will shine the brightest. You will not preach hollow words. You will proclaim living scars. People will ask, "How are you still standing after all that?" And you will answer, "Because the Lord stood with me." No one can argue with a life redeemed by divine intervention. Those who once watched, waiting for your downfall, will be forced to acknowledge a greater hand has held you. They won't be able to explain how you didn't collapse, or how you kept moving forward when everything else fell apart. And that is where my glory will shine. My dear one, the deeper you walk in your calling, the clearer your holiness must be. The closer you draw to my throne, the purer your voice must become. The lighter your heart must be, and the more refined your motives must remain. Not everyone can withstand the elevation to which I am bringing you. High places do not welcome unnecessary weight. Sacred steps cannot hold the feet of those carrying resentment, envy, or doubt. I will require you to release, once again, not to leave you empty, but to fill you with what is new. Those who journeyed with you in the last season may not walk with you in the next, not because they are evil, but because they no longer fit the rhythm of heaven assigned to you. Remember, every step you take is accompanied by hosts of angels. You are not alone. When you remain silent before accusation, the angels record it. When you choose forgiveness over retaliation, heaven marks it as a victory. And each of these victories, though unseen, is building power in you. You are stepping into a season not only to hear from me, but to speak on my behalf. Not only to receive healing, but to release it. Not only to escape the trap, but to show others the way out. Because you were not consumed by the fire, I will send you back into it to pull others out. I did not rescue you just to help you survive. I rescued you so you could become an extension of my redemption. And now, beloved, it is time for you to begin. Beloved one, when the storms of testing have poured upon the rooftop of your life, that is the very moment when a new dawn begins to break. Not a flicker on the horizon, but a full sunrise shining into your soul. You did not walk out of the snare to return to an old life. You did not survive betrayal to live in fear. You have been brought out of the darkness to stand in the place prepared for you, where my glory does not just cover you, but flows through you. It is time not just to see what I promised, but to walk fully in it. You will see that everything I have done has been in divine order. Not one tear was wasted. Not one lonely day was unused in laying the foundation for the wisdom you now carry. Not one season you endured was in vain. All of it has been woven together into a new garment, the mantle of distinction, of divine commissioning, of heavenly authority. No one can give it to you, and no one can take it away, for it is not stitched by human hands, but woven by my words, dyed in the blood of spiritual warfare, and illuminated by the glory on my holy mountain. Lift your head not in pride, but in recognition. You are the one I have preserved, not to merely exist, but to lead, not to hide, but to shine, not to please the world, but to fulfill my will. Those who once judged you will no longer have a voice in your next season. Those who once named you by your past will be astonished by the future I'm unfolding. They will see the change but not understand its source, for The source is not education, not systems, not human hands, but my throne alone. You will stand among those whom you once only dared to pray for from afar. You will enter places where you were once rejected, not to be honored, but to carry my kingship into those places. You will lay your hands upon things that once felt out of reach, not by your own strength, but because I now move through you. The doors that were unjustly shut will be opened by my hand. The opportunities you thought were lost will return in the most unexpected ways, because you allowed me to shape you in the silence. Now is the time I will publicly honor you before others. And as you walk this new path, remember that glory is not a reward, but a sign that I am with you. Do not let your heart become attached to position, influence, or recognition. These are merely tools. The ultimate destination has always been me. Walk softly, yet with authority. Speak with confidence, but let it flow from the trembling depths of your soul. Love without fear of being hurt. Forgive without demanding repayment. For you are no longer a victim of the past. You are a bearer of the promise, one who has emerged from the pit to become a guide for souls crying out in silence. You are about to see things you've never seen, hear words you've never heard, sign covenants you never imagined. Not because you were the most capable, but because you stayed when others walked away. You believed when everything fell apart. You worshipped in the furnace. And now, I am opening the heavens, a new season, a new commission, a new identity all being established. No longer the one barely surviving the fire, but the one who carries the flame. No longer the one nearly trapped, but the one who frees others from the snare. No longer the one rejected, but the one who brings acceptance to the forgotten. And I, the one who declared it, will bring it to completion. Though you did not know it, a trap had been laid around your life, subtle, quiet, cloaked in familiar faces. But even in that darkness, I stepped in, not when all became clear, but while everything was still moving silently behind the scenes of the spiritual realm. I did not leave you to stumble alone. I did not allow the wounds to stack without healing. From beginning to end, I was there seeing, guiding, and protecting. What you thought was delay was actually my perfect intervention. What seemed like loss was my way of clearing the space to pour in something new. Throughout this journey, your eyes have been opened to see truth, to discern the sweetness that carries poison, the smile that conceals a dagger, the companionship that lacks sincerity. Not to make you bitter, but to make you wise. Not to close your heart, but to help you give it to the right people, at the right place, at the right time. I have not allowed betrayal to define your life. I've used it as a platform to push you closer to my glory. And through every painful moment, I've been shaping you into a sharp instrument, a warrior of light in a dark time. My child, you've come out of the trap not just as one rescued, but as one established, not only as one protected, but as one entrusted. Every wound, every tear, every moment you stayed silent and kept believing even without understanding, has become the foundation for the power that is about to be released through your life. You are no longer the same. You've passed through fire, through traps, through deception to enter a land no one else can claim, because it is the portion I have reserved for you. And most importantly, you are not walking alone. I am sending angels before you. I am lifting you up. I am connecting you with a pure circle. Every step now bears the mark of heaven. Every word, if you keep your heart tender and your ears attuned, will carry life and restoration. The snare cannot prevail against you, for I am the one who called, the one who kept, and the one who will complete. Keep walking in rest, in discernment, and in trust. Everything I have spoken will come to pass. Not one word will return void. You belong to me, and I do not change. Thank you for receiving today's message. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so we can continue to receive the living words together. Build a strong and unshakable faith, and walk daily in the boundless love of God. Amen.